Well, hello, creatives, community, kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. There's a new look on the station. Had to shave the locks off. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But today, as always, I picked something in media that is mind fuel for our world building. And I often go down these rabbit holes of finding things around me or things that I've engaged in. And one of my favorite sparks of inspiration are premises for TV shows and movies, especially a lot of like long form television. And despite the execution of said television show, sometimes the premise itself really catches my attention. And so, therefore, I punish everybody else and share it with you guys. So, we are going to talk about a television show called The Last Ship. But first, let's get past our introduction for people who don't know about this channel, and then we'll get into our discussion. Welcome back, everyone. I'm DBJ. I am your host. Of course, all of you that are able to take part on this show are the co-hosts as we talk about tabletop role-playing games and tangentially talk about all kinds of other media and influences. And today we're going to talk about a television show known as The Last Ship. And mind you, you don't need to know very much about this particular television show. As a matter of fact, it almost helps if you don't know anything. And the reason for that simply is because The Last Ship is a television show like many televised long-form shows that happened during the late 90s to the mid-2000s. And a lot of times these shows, sometimes I would call them mystery box shows. They come up with a premise, and then they hire many different showrunners and writers and whatnot, and they use that opportunity to take the element of the show and use that as a way of describing what the show's about. Yeah, Drew. It's like, oh no, yeah. We're going to talk. All the locks are shorn off. My wife helped me shave the head, and I even did a big shave on the face and whatnot. So, yeah. 17 years, had to do it. Listen, no pride here. It was leaving me already. You know, I got the little retreat in the front part and a bit in the back and whatnot. But whatever. It's genetics, getting older. I'm the old grognard. The gray beard, grizzled faced grognard parts. Got to clean that up. So anyway, so what is The Last Ship? I got a couple of images over here. The Last Ship premise tends to be, and many of these premises actually tend to be pretty simple. Okay, so here we have a slight combined premise, and I think is an opportunity to steal for tabletop role-playing games. The Last Ship is a naval vessel. Not sure exactly what the category of the ship is. I want to say like some kind of fast attack corvette or destroyer or something like that. Doesn't really matter. And that vessel is not in communication with the rest of the world. And when that vessel comes back in contact with the rest of the world with a number of like questions, everyone's like, makes you want to go, what the heck happened here? You realize that a viral bacterial plague swept across the world, and they are the seemingly the last ship of civilization. And now there's a lot of dangling threads at the beginning of the show, but ostensibly it's a crew boards a ship. They are out of touch and out of contact with what happened in the rest of the world, and when they recontact the civilization, everything has changed, and that is a great premise for a show. Now, mind you, with the some of the great aspects of this television show were here in the States, if you portray the military in a positive light, you can get a lot of access to the military because vicariously, when people absorb that kind of media, they get recruitment improvements. So when they're to help with recruitment, they like to give access to television and movies, Hollywood, to be able to put the military on display. In this case, it was the Navy, and there's a lot of B-roll in the show where you see the ship moving fast and slow and launching helicopters and missiles and what those point defense systems where those Gatling guns throw like lots of lead into the air to try to blow missiles out of the air, directly out of the air and stuff. Anyway, it's really great B-roll. And then the cast and characters were dressed and able to move around a set that very much was on a ship many times in the show, on the deck, below decks and whatnot. So you had a really good feel for it. Now, there were a lot of threads dangling in the show. For example, there were a set of scientists. Drew says, so the ship is basically I gotta show it to you. So the ship is basically the White House. I mean, with Trump that is out of touch with the rest of humanity. Ouch. Ba-dum boom. Ouch. Yeah. There's a lot of parallels you can also make with many of these premises it shows, and yeah, it's pretty fun. Now, with the one of the threads was that a group of scientists discovered something, and they needed to go up to the Arctic Circle to find it. Basically, the origins of maybe a virus or bacteria or something like that. It doesn't, yeah. Maybe it's hitting a little too soon to talk about this kind of thing, about a pandemic, but whatever. So the scientists go up there. So they're on the ship as well, and they're kind of like dodging around the question of why they're on the ship in the first place. Also, during the ship's mission, where they go out of contact on purpose from main base and whatnot, because they have to be able to operate on their own. They get attacked by snowmobile riding enemies. I believe they were from like Russia or something like that. And they're just like, what the hell's happening? There are people with snowmobiles and automatic weapons trying to attack us? Like, what? And then, of course, when they try to reconnect with main society, they are trying to connect with satellites and other basic communications, and they are having a lot of difficulty. And the main part of the show, I believe it was, 4 seasons, 46 episodes. Here in the States, we love to have ourselves a longer number of episodes per season. So you may have shows that go for much longer than like 3 or 4. It might go 6, 8, 12. There was a period of time where we would do literally 24 episodes of a show, with the first and last episode being 2 hours and the rest of the show being like 1 hour. Well, and with commercials removed, about 45 minutes a piece. But yes, 4 seasons, 46 episodes, and the show involved them, of course, trying to navigate for survival, getting food and supplies and fuel. Also realizing that because they are the last ship, who else is out there? What do they want? And then there's a bigger plot of trying to discover what really did happen and how to solve that issue, that situation. Can they bring humanity back from the brink of destruction? And a lot of the show was what I like about it, and we're going to talk about the tabletop and cinematics of the show and bring that into our storytelling is that every episode was like a procedural, right? They would show up on land and then they would get into a lot of hilarity would ensue, right? The crew members with their own personalities and desires would get off the ship, come on land, and then they would discover things, and we would discover more about the crew members, as well as uncovering more hints and clues and aspects around the world, especially the United States. And there were a lot of themes in the show that could really help for tabletop role playing. So the first part is I love the outposting of the show. I guess in modern parlance for tabletop games, you would call it West Marches, but I tend to call it outposting. Outposting is the ability to have large numbers of players come in and out of a game and yet still participate when they aren't there. So an idea for an outpost would be a location where players at the end of each session can go back to the outpost, and when the next game starts, other players can leave the outpost and start adventuring. And we see this in a lot of procedural television shows where there's like medical, rescue, lawyers, police, law enforcement, heck, even crimes and gangs, where for 3 episodes we don't see a character because they're at the outpost, and then later on that character gets reintroduced and takes part in the televised show. An outpost can be mobile, and we see this with any kind of mobile craft, starships and sailing ships, like this show, The Last Ship. And in this show, of course, they're being on the last ship. It's filled with a crew of individuals. We get to learn some of their personalities and quirks, and then of course, when a storyline doesn't involve a particular character, we get to replace them with another character, and we have even more elements to show with those characters. So really cool. And of course, what you'll have to embrace if you want to outpost your tabletop role-playing game is that at the end of each session, you're going to have to everyone has to agree to understand that at some way, shape, or form, we're all heading back to the ship, so that the next time we have a game and a player who couldn't be there for 3 sessions says, "Oh man, I don't have to work as much overtime. Can I join the game?" And they're like, "Yeah, because you're in the mobile section. You're in the ship, and when you leave the ship, you can participate thereof." Now, one of the other things that we can really use, take from this and use it for tabletop role-playing games is basically having a large cast of characters. In this way, you can have a lot of NPCs travel with the player characters for whatever reason, and then of course those NPCs can become main characters if and or when you lose some characters through a gauntlet or a funnel, whether a combat mission involves characters with a lot of combat abilities, or there is more of a diplomatic social interaction mission, or there is an explorative, climbing, jumping, swimming, or more investigative with characters gathering clues, or more scientific with more of an analysis, or characters that can build and design, and so you can have a big mix and match of those kind of characters in your game by borrowing it from The Last Ship. Also, we have a huge premise. Now, the premise, of course, is crew members on ship, they leave, then they reconnect with society, which has fallen. And sometimes those of us in the tabletop community have a hard time with mysteries. So together, you're going to have to decide, if you use a premise like this, whether it is a sailing vessel or an airship or a starship or something like that. Is the point of the game to discover what happened and why and solve it. Not all stories require you to understand what happened or even have the ability to solve the situation. But in The Last Ship, it began with we don't know what's going on. There was a mystery, but the mystery didn't matter. The point was society had fallen, and a huge portion of, I don't know, I think they even said upwards of 80 to 90% of the world's population had died. And so therefore that's the situation. Fine. You're just going to have to deal with how to live in this new world. Or you could allow the players, or have a discussion about this, like, guys, it will be part of the adventure for you to bring society back, to bring back civilization amongst the uncivilized that have spread throughout the world, fighting off warlords and criminals and puppet bureaucracies and democracies and totalitarian regimes and things of that nature. So you'll have to decide whether people actually really know the answer to what happened or it's a mystery. And I feel like in our tabletop community, we tend not to value mysteries much anymore, right? I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of times when, you know, we are given the answers to things that maybe we shouldn't have the answers to, because the answer for many of us tends to be underwhelming for what we think in our minds. Usually our own fears tend to make better content than what we see from the outside, even though, what's the term? Some people will rationalize and mathematically, like, so sometimes we will, our desire for our own geekdom will ruin the fun out of the thing that we enjoy. I'm looking at Star Wars as an example, one of many examples where people's demands for so much knowledge about every character everywhere has kind of ruined the intellectual property. And so we can do that in our tabletop games. So I suggest embracing at least some mystery, if not embracing the mystery of the entire thing. Maybe you don't know. There was an HBO show called The Leftovers, where it was like 1 or 5% of the population of the Earth disappeared. And the writers of the show specifically said, we will never answer what happened to those people and why. But the people left over, the remnants of those left over, had a lot of questions, many of them believing that it was more like a religious rapture, simply because science could never explain what had happened. And so the show delved more internally. And so for player characters, if you want to keep the mystery, then what will probably end up happening is you'll get more of an internalized gaming event, meaning like, what do players think? What do they hold dearly? What do they consider valuable when all things are gone? And I like that. Drew says, I feel like it's not just the people in our space. I see it in criticism for all kinds of media, that people speak out against any ambiguity. Sadly, that. Yeah. I mean, sometimes the mystery itself tends to make us it's a reflection of ourselves. So the external mystery shows who we are in our desire for the discovery of that mission. And so we start revealing more and more of ourselves, to the point where and a lot of times people don't understand that it's more of a reflection of ourselves, and then you kind of see where people are really coming from. So that's why a lot of times why writers really love apocalyptic style settings, where the things we hold dear are removed from us, society and civil discourse and whatnot, and then you get to see what people really are about. And yeah, it is pretty sad because when you have a mystery about an event in the world, and mind you, those events could be very mundane, like a mystery about where people live, or why do they act a certain way, or what are they doing. And if you're divorced from that, you hear people speculate about, like, you'll find out whether they're paranoid or afraid, or they're hate-filled, or they are money hungry, or power thirsting, or bullies, or you'll find out a lot about especially their darker aspects when people are put into a position of uncertainty, not even just mystery, but uncertainty. Take a look at how people respond when their known country has an influx of refugees for whatever reason, influx of people that maybe they don't know the language or the culture or something, and look how people act. And you'll realize more about them. You'll find out more from their reaction than the actual actions taking place because of the unknown, right? It's like, is that? Oh yeah. We play Dungeons and Dragons and a lot more than that over here. Think of this as sitting down at the table like before a game or after a game, and just us having discussion. But usually I pick a subject. Usually the subject matter is some kind of like thing to draw us into it. And I like the old television shows from like the 90s to the early 2000s. Like there were these premise long form shows, and I just happened to pick some of these. Doesn't mean they were quality shows. I personally liked the show. I only got like halfway through it, but you don't have to be into it. No. The cut is literally less than 24 hours. So yeah, I've got photographs. My wife made a video of it. Yeah, cut the locks off. Yeah. So yes, again, the last ship, a military ship. I was going to actually play a I don't know. YouTube might ding me if I do that. I was going to play some trailers from the television show, but it's basically a military vessel with some scientists on it, purposefully are out of communication with society, and then when they come back a couple of months later or something, I can't remember how long it was. It was a long-ish mission, maybe a month or two. They come back to reconnect with society and find out that society has fallen. One of the great things also about the way the way the last ship is portrayed is that it very easily allows them to every single coastline in the world becomes a storytelling element. So I don't know about Dark Emperor, maybe a dark businessman, which if you're not familiar with the Wayland Katani Corporation, maybe we can do an episode on that. But anyway, the since every coastline is a potential storytelling element, they never really are able to run out of storylines. So every time they need to refuel, right? Well, it depends what it interests you guys. Face huggers, anyone? But anyway, yeah, maybe we might do that at some point. I don't know. Hell, it could even be tomorrow. I don't give a shit. I was going to do an episode on Sons of Anarchy. Not, of course, doing the show, the value of the show, but using it for our own tabletop. But yeah, this premise, I really like it because I love it when players have outside responsibilities, and then you can use that to pull and tug and twist and complicate their lives. So the players as crew members may be responsible for one or many elements of taking care of the people on this last ship. They have to defend it. Here's what a Star Wars evil D&D campaign may be interest you to join. It's a political strategic theme. Yeah. Yeah, I'm zen about games. Like I'm down to join anything. I don't have very much time. Despite me shaving the gray hairs, I'm still like I'm 3 years away from retirement. Like I'm literally putting in my last bit of work. But yeah, I'm down for anything. Anybody that's got something going on, and as long as I'm I understand what page we're on, I'm down for damn near anything. Yeah. George Soros in the game. Oh no! What? You've already given me a pre-made character? Wow! Wait a minute. Anyway, trust the Wars Guy 94. Okay, I'll trust you for right now. But one of the things about the show is when you have a premise like this is you really, for tabletop games, we feel like there's a lot of value in trying to come up with super original ideas, and that's not really where we want to be. Sometimes good enough, sometimes perfection gets in the way of good enough, and what I mean by that is, oh hey, cool. I'm picking with you. Sometimes, just a minute. So sometimes we get to the point where we think we have to come up with the perfect original idea, and too many perfect original ideas are sit on a trash heap because all we really need is good enough. And what I mean by that is, with the premise of the show, The Last Ship, it's a ship with a crew on it that is ostensibly the last ship in the world, and that's actually not true. But the point of it is, they think they are, at least in the beginning, and every time they are on the border of coastline of some place, they have to get something. And so there's a lot of storytelling elements. You need fuel, you need food, you need supplies. Damn near the entire crew spent the first season talking about them wanting to reconnect with their lost family and friends because they were out of communication, and now they don't know what happened. And a lot of people live inland, so you have to travel inland. And then there's mission parameters, right? Reestablishing where the leadership is, who they are, where they are, what's possible for them to reconnect. They are a military vessel, so they need to reconnect with their military, right? And then they are humans. They want to reconnect with family and friends. Of course, our main characters seem to take precedence over all of the red shirts, below decks and whatnot, which is kind of stupid. It's like, I want to meet my family, but orders are you can't meet yours. I'm like, you guys are assholes when it comes to that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's cool. Trusted Wars Guy says we play in Discord, voice and video, Wednesdays or Fridays bi-weekly, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. See, I'm at work at that time. Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, I'm at work like 5:30, 6 plus. I don't even know when for 32 years, I've never known when I get off work. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Sometimes 8-hour day, other times 12-hour days, depends on how much work comes in. So don't know. Yeah, maybe in 3 years. Hey, listen, in 3 years, I will not be, despite my desire for loving to wear vests, I'm not wearing a Walmart vest. I'll be sitting here doing this as my retiree's part-time job or something. So yeah, I'll be doing this. I don't know in what capacity, but I don't know. I'll be hosting games, and I'll be putting in 15, 20 hours a week into this and whatnot. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. This retiree is gonna retire into geekdom, and I love it. So so when I say good enough, because we're gonna go up to we're gonna stack on top of this another subject. Good enough basically is yeah, exactly there, Drew. Yeah. Because there's technically a Discord server for this channel, and I don't promote it, which is damn. Yeah. Or even your Discord there, Drew. Yep, exactly. I'll have plenty of time for that. Yeah, we'll do that. And in 2028, kind of, sort of, yeah-ish. Yeah, it's like, hey, can we meet back in 3 years? Sure. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is the truth, though. So, but there's always space over here because I get more out of this than I think you guys get, because this fills up my geek mind fuel tank. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Now, one of the things, yes, we can absolutely connect on Discord and other places too. Yep. Let me. While I talk, I will start finding this information so I can throw it in the chat or something. So one of the things that I like about the Last Ship premise as well is that every time the ship travels, they like old school gaming where you're like hex crawling and whatnot. It's an excellent example of being able to create ripple effects. So, we've seen point crawling and hex crawling in our tabletop community, and part of it is, the classic part is you get a big hex map and you have icons. Oh yeah, okay. I'll figure it out in just a minute. So one of the things that is possible with a premise of the last ship is that every time they go somewhere, they drop a stone in the water that causes a ripple. And when some people's dislike of hex crawling or exploration is that it feels like that is not the thing that is happening, when that is the thing that it very much should be happening. So in other words, come on, Discord. There we go. So in other words, what ends up happening in the show is that they meet a port. Let's say they go to I don't know, they go to New York City or something like that, and they travel up the Hudson River or something. And so, come on, log in. Yeah, it's not letting me do. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do it. I got too many links open. I got too many windows open up. I just saw something happen. It froze a little bit on me. I'll get the information in a minute, or maybe Drew can drop something in there as well. But I might need to be able to open up permissions on the Discord. So whatever, we'll find it. Let's see if I can close some of this down here. Let's see. Here we go. So. An example would be in old school gaming, OSR gaming, you have a hex map and you got symbols like forests or mountains, a river, desert, scrublands, or something like that. And the players go from hex to hex and they get involved in whatever is in that hex. And it'll be like a 6-mile hex or 24-mile hex. It doesn't really matter. And one of the things that's often missing or at least forgotten or misunderstood is that if you meet, let's say, a hidden group of people who are survivalists in one hex, and the players encounter them for whatever reason, violently, nicely, they maneuver around them or whatever, players do something and then they leave that hex, that begins the ripple effect of what should keep happening in the rest of the game. So it's not as if you leave the hex and everything that you did in the hex previously doesn't matter. No, it actually absolutely should matter. The reasoning for that is because you're trying to tell a story, and the story becomes emergent from what goes on. So for example, in the last ship, when they come upon New York City and maybe they meet some kind of like, I don't know, criminal warlord or something like that, and the PCs leave the region, well, who's to say that they aren't followed, and that causes a ripple effect down river or upstream, or people getting in the boats and going after the last ship, and all that kind of stuff should keep happening, and one rolls into the next, creating a cascading effect of poking and prodding the things in the world, and then having those things have a natural reaction to the player's presence, right? Whether the player's presence is violent or nice, it shouldn't matter, but it shouldn't matter what happens. What should matter is the players threw a rock into the pond and created ripples that changed the landscape. And in hex crawling type of things, what is undersold is the fact that there is, or there should be, some form of players' actions and having reactions to what the players do, and then the players living and then reacting to those actions, and that this becomes a a back and forth, a ping pong element. We're playing tennis with our game master and the players. As the players do something, game master reacts. Game master does something, players react, and that back and forth should be part of our gaming element. And so when if the players are on a starship and they go from planet to planet, hab to hab, space station to space station, in small, big, whatever, they should have some impact on the world, whether communications are sent or let's try another way into Discord. So on and so forth. Come on. Let me log in. There we go. All right, I got in. And please don't slow down on me. Where's my invite link? Nope. There we go. How do you get the invite? There we go. Invite people. Copy. Let's see if this works. But anyway, sorry, got myself distracted. Thanks, Trusted War Guy. No, I'm just joking with you. Another thing that we can learn from or use from the last ship is, because the ship is a military vessel, you have various characters at various levels of responsibility and skill, and of course internal motivation and integrity and whatnot. And so one great part of the ship is what you get to see on the last ship is you see the crew at the highest levels of responsibility. You got the captain and the XO and the top 5, top 10 individuals who have the highest authority on the ship. One person's in charge of away teams, one person in charge of weapons, someone else in charge of communications and whatnot, and they're at the highest levels, and you get to see what decisions they have to make through script writing and whatnot, and knowing that some of them have to make hard decisions about who to leave behind and who to save and how long to wait, how much fuel do they have, and moving around resources on the ship. And then we get to see the lower decks, right? We get to see some of the red shirts and their impressions of what their leaders are doing. Do they question their leadership? Do they follow along blindly? Is there some variation in the middle? We get to see the morale in the lower decks. We get to see, like, are they happy about what they're doing? Are they upset? Is there a growing rebellion happening? Are there people stealing supplies or power or resources from one group of people to another one? Is there like a black market in the bottom of the ship that is a black market of, like, I don't know, chocolate bars or card games or something? What about relationships happening? What the ship was set, the crew of the ship was designated for one particular thing. Now they have to recontextualize their purpose. So whereas they were on a mission, a small cog in a bigger machine, now they end up representing the last remnants of a real society. So now, what about children? What about families and relationships? How do you punish? What about punishments? Do you put people in the brig? Can you afford to have individuals arrested on your own ship, taking up valuable space and resources, but they're not being productive? So do you exile them? What do you do with because of the mysterious event? We know in the last ship it was like a pandemic, but whatever reason that the world society has fallen, how do we react as our own local society on the ship to the outside world? Meaning, do we still abide by the rule of law, even though those rules and laws don't exist on the main land? Do we come up with new rules to live by? And then what's the push and pull of those new rules to live by? And if we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, like fantasy gaming or modern or science fiction, we also have elements of like, if we have magic, was it magic that caused the destruction of the world? And how do people react socially with that? What about like in a modern context with a pandemic or wars or chemical weapons or something like that? If it's far future, was it nanotech? Was it robots? Of course, the robot overlords. Was it an alien invasion? Was it an accident that someone opened up a black hole or whatever? Who knows what could happen in science fiction and things of that nature. But the point being is that, let's see, used to have, come on, where we go? Volkswagen just landed. What the heck happened here? Come on, activate. There we go. All right, so there's things coming in on Discord. See, that's why I don't do this on Discord, because it can be very distracting. Very distracting. I'm trying to get to the boiler room here. There we go. All right, I gotta clean it up too. But anyway, the last ship. Let's take a look at it. As a matter of fact, you know what I'll do? I'll let you guys go early. What I'm going to do is close down this a little bit so we can see what this is. I'm going to share with you. You know what? Let's go to YouTube. Let's see if we can find the last ship. Let's go to the last ship trailer. Maybe have that play in the background and whatnot, and just mention what this is, and there we go. Go ahead, put this out, and this is just an idea of like what the last ship is about. You get to see military people here. We get a good idea of like who's in charge. Of course, we got the white outfits. We've got ourselves. Wow, there's a bunch of people. Kind of cool. Go off into the Arctic. Got the ship flowing here. Good looking people everywhere and whatnot. And of course, you know me. You guys know I love myself some exploration, right? This show, The Last Ship, really allowed, like, it tickled my fancy, because they can go from an Arctic location where you could have everything from like avalanches and blizzards and cold weather adventure and whatnot, and then you can go to like an empty urbanized area where you have anything from collapsing buildings and people hiding on rooftops and running down dark alleys, and then you can go to another place that was a bombed out shell of what it once was, with burning fires and highways choked with cars and things being I don't know how, I can't remember the time period on the show, but it wasn't like The Last of Us where everything was overgrown and moss covered and whatnot, but it really tickles my fancy when it comes to things like that, where it's like, hey, we get to see things, and then here we have high technology and we get to use like weapons and vehicles and whatnot, which to an extent, maybe in our tabletop role-playing experiences, maybe we don't get to use those a lot. Helicopters, snowmobiles, explosives and whatnot, maybe give a lot of toys for the players to play with as well, and which is also a great thing to have, right? Like, yes, we want to challenge the players, and yes, we want to do all the role-playing and stuff like that, but at the same time, Yeah. Drew's like, yeah, you can mute your Discord. Here we go. You can mute your Discord when you want to avoid distraction. I also do often when I need to focus on my work. My ADHD brain would be distracted otherwise too much. Yeah. And Mufa says, yeah, I'm on a lot of Discords, all muted. Yeah. My issue is has a little guilt with it, right? And that is like, I want to be part of these things and I want to be part of the conversation, but I can't be part of those conversations like I want to be. And so I'd hate to be half distracted when other people are like, hey, you're half in the conversation, and it's just like, what, that kind of stuff. Of course, we've got ourselves a number of characters in here. They're all arguing. They all have their own purposes. You have a band of military people who don't know what the hell's going on, and now they have to change their parameters. We've got ourselves of course, a gorgeous-looking scientist who's just like, but I have my own mission. And then we are introduced to what the pandemic is. Great premise to start out a game. It's the 5-minute run, right? That's why you have a trailer. It's the hey guys, do you want to play in a game that's like this kind of thing. I think a Call of Cthulhu style game would actually work with this as well. Not so much with a Lovecraftian horror, although you could very much do that. But the idea that there are warlords and possible nukes, and there's still the pandemic, and are members of our crew sick and whatnot. All those kind of things. What just happened? Oh, okay. I was just like, what the heck? So yeah, I mean, never a shortage of adversaries and NPCs. Heck, it looked like there are people lined up. Maybe there are funerals you have to worry about. I love it, and of course we can borrow from. Again, we don't need perfection; we just need good enough. And so, in this kind of premise, in this kind of premise for a show. You messed with me there? Yeah, okay. Not a problem. It's Discord. I see it. I think I see it. I think I see it. Oh no, that was posted on the 23rd. There it is. I see the direct message. DS22? I think that's it. But anyway, what's going on? So yeah. Hey, Amon. It says good morning and a great start into a new week. Yep. Hey, what's going on there? Yeah, just talking about a premise. Always talking about these great premises. Now, mind you, of course, you don't need to directly steal from this television show. When I'm saying direct, you don't need a military vessel. You don't need to go up in the Arctic Circle to wait for it. I mean, this could be an airship. You want to do this fantasy-wise, excellently done fantasy-wise, especially if you want to do classic D&D characters go on an airship or something like that, right? Or a sailing vessel. Maybe do it like Pirate X World of Sail. They leave, and then when they come back, no one recognizes what the world is like any longer. I try to work out a new character for a TTRPG system I am not familiar with. Ships can be surprisingly big. Yeah, and it depends on how big you want to make, right? The idea is that you have a core group of characters filled out with a ton of NPCs and extraneous characters, so you can fill the void, especially if you're going to do it far more lethal like. That way, if you start losing player characters, you've got a great entourage to pick from to raise them up to main characters as well, and then you get great new places to interact with. And of course, using my outposting gameplay idea is, even if certain players aren't there, you can still play. Even if you do mini games or something like that, where of course there's only two crew members left, and of course those two crew members go off into the jungle to do their own thing, to then come back to the main group to again go back to the mission of going after the Grand Lich that is now taking over the main city of Dagomar or something like that, which used to be this sprawling metropolis, but now is half empty and filled with undead or something like that. Mutants and Masterminds, yeah, I like that game. I've got I believe it's the first edition. I think it's the first edition. That was still like a 3.5-ish game. Yep. Also, that's exactly right, Amon. Also, you can explain the missing players need to stay back to protect the ship. Hell yeah, that's exactly why outposting is a great idea. Why aren't they there? They're protecting the ship, or they are performing a function that's not important to what's happening now, right? They are getting fuel for the ship or food. They are keeping the morale up on the ship. Hell, they're sleeping in their bunks, right? Like, there's all kind, and of course you've got like fantasy and gaming, other things like, oh, I'm a sage studying books. I'm a magic person studying magic shit, right? I'm a priest and I'm meditating and praying or whatever. Okay, great. You're not here in this game, but you'll be back later on. Heck, you could say my character's out carousing or whatnot, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, Drew says, but be careful with such a campaign, or it might feel like Star Trek Voyager, where you lose crew every so often, but it seems to make no difference. Now that is that problem is one in which having a unified theme really helps. And what I mean by a unified theme is that, like, for example, in Voyager, the theme was to get back home, right? And what you don't want is people running around aimlessly. So even if the players start to get like off the rails, you probably want to have some, like, for example, in the show The Last Ship, they're not really running around aimlessly, right? The world ended as far as they're concerned, and the show makes a point of having various characters at the highest levels argue about what the next step should be. And so is it bringing back society, which our main character, that's his job, right? He's a member of the military. He's a representative of democracy. And so he wants to bring back a civilized democratic society. So that is the mission of the show. Now, there's a lot of people who are like, maybe we should just go off on our own and find an island and establish a new society there. So yeah. Yeah, sorting things. Yeah, Amon, yeah. Sorting things out there to do blank. Yeah, I'm cleaning the latrines. I'm cooking meals for everyone. Yeah, easy to fix when you define the amount of crew members as a finite amount, hard to stock up. Yeah, and also remember, you've got, if you are coming upon different shorelines to gather things, who's to say you're not recruiting other people? And listen, you could, I wouldn't want to make the crew members nebulous, but you can vacillate between like 15 to 20, right? And of course you can have some members are kidnapped, or they leave, or they run away out of fear. Some are starving, some are captured and whatnot. And then, so you can play around with that for a lot of storylines as well. Hey, we need to get back 8 members of our crew because they decided to go off because they found a stash of like mead or alcohol or something like that. And that could just be one game where it's a fetch quest, right? Rescue our team members, bring them back to the ship, and we leave. Now, the end result of that, as all televised show, and what you can do is on any type of starship, sailing vessel, mobile outpost, or whatever, is we can agree, or we can agree to disagree on how much time transpires between one event and the next event. So are we doing a real-time event like, hey, we play every 2 weeks, so real 2 weeks passes by on the ship, So then we can have discussions about, well, why are we down 3 crew members? Well, in those 2 weeks, 3 members decided to leave off on their own, and we exiled them to this lost island because they were creating these problems. And so now we're having a mutiny on the ship, right? And those things can happen in between the game. So to add a little bit more thing, like, oh, hey, between last Tuesday and this Tuesday, we found a strange ore that we've never found before on an asteroid when we were traveling from one star system to the next, and we're now trying to refine it for this thing, and that becomes the next MacGuffin for the next storytelling thing that, I don't know, makes everyone break out in the song and dance on the crew, or, you know what I mean, something dumb like that. But that could be the thing. Mufa's like, here's the laugh. Like, yeah, whenever you need a red shirt featured in an episode or in a notable location on the bridge, you know they're going to die this episode. Exactly. Come on. There's a reason why the trope red shirt even exists, because sometimes as the game master, I've got to prove to you guys that this thing is dangerous. And how do I prove that to you? Well, let me borrow a couple of your red shirts and make them, drive them insane, or have a xenomorph burst out of their chest, or have them lose their inhibitions and try to like sex down every other person on the bridge, or, you know what I mean, dumb stuff like that, right? Like, you know, crew members that are kidnapped or being influenced, or there's an infestation, or how do you show that? Well, you show that with some red shirts, you know. And now, mind you, they don't have to be crew members, right? The red shirting of that effect doesn't have to actually be red shirts. They could just be individuals that are not on the ship. They could be on land, and players discover what the hell is happening on land if and when they're going. And like I said, every time the players do something, you're throwing a rock into the pond and creating ripples, which means that their outpost doesn't need to be as safe as we think it is, especially if they want to play around with it. There's also the opposite effect with Harry Kim, that every episode he gets affected by some weird shit, but keeps sticking around as Eternal Ensign. Oh, yeah. There is that as well, right? Like the what is it? Television shows tend to always reset themselves because they know that not everyone gets to see every episode, so they have to do a hard reset. And you're just like, that makes no sense. They went through the most traumatic thing in their life, but they're okay. Yep, exactly. Yeah, we found out a dinghy went missing and 6 crew members disappeared. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it won't let me show the the little emoji there. But yeah, who knows what reason? And of course that can spawn other things. If the players, one of the bad things about having like a mobile outpost, like a starship, a sailing vessel, I don't know, a police box or something like that, is that sometimes players tend to turtle up quite a bit. They like their starship. They don't want to put it in danger, right? They like their sailing vessel as pirates. They don't want to put it in danger. And so turtling can be a little bit of a problem. But again, when you have crew members who can bring on all kinds of issues onto the ship, that may be a thing as well. So using the same throwing a rock into a pond, when crew members bring goods and services and individuals onto the ship, even that in and of itself can create storylines. Like maybe crew members brought on stowaways, or a stowaway snuck on the ship and no one knew about it, or there's some kind of MacGuffin on the ship that some other people want, or what have you. And so, yeah, lots of storytelling elements. And like I said, it's not about being perfect, it's about being good enough. And if we can get our stories good enough, that's probably the best thing. A world building element that never gets used isn't as good as like 5 average elements that get used all the time, right? So it's better to play than not to play. depending on how big the crew was to begin with, the amount could be scary. Yeah, it's like, yeah, our crew is 200 deep, and 150 of them all brought on some outside element that's creating a problem with everybody else, right? I mean, you wouldn't want to make it that bad, but of course, who knows? So yeah, definitely the last ship, really fun, really cool. Hope YouTube doesn't shut down the video, but yeah, if you are unfamiliar with the show, it is okay. Just read the wiki premise, and I think you'll be fine, right? Yeah, just read the wiki premise about the show, and I don't think you'll have any problems going like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I understand this show. It's kind of cool. I think it was re-released on Amazon Prime or Max or something like that. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter anyway, right? Like, it's just a crew of ship off on their own, reconnecting with the society that's broken down. Yeah, exactly. And then of course there's the opposite side of well, you always want to complicate the characters' lives, but there's the opposite side of this as well. The players discover a haven of people that need to be saved. Do the players leave them behind by getting on their ship and leaving, or do they leave the ship there to defend them, right? Do the players are treated like sycophants, meaning like they're looked at almost like divine entities, and the players now are responsible for the lives of these people that they've saved? Who knows? Lufa says, I feel like the show writers were aware of the meme, and hence we got Harry. Oh yeah, yes. Yeah. I just this weekend I played table game with some people about memes and stuff. It was real fun. Kind of like Cards Against Humanity. I think it was like What the Meme? Or Explain the Meme or something like that. I think it should be Max's. Yeah, it's probably released on Max. Well, I have a number of streaming services through my Prime account, so I think it's Max. Paramount Plus. I get Paramount Plus, Max, and something else through my Amazon. But it all comes up on the same feed, so yeah. But yeah. Probably re-released there. 4 seasons, which means the show did pretty good. 46 episodes. Not too bad. Not sure if it jumped the shark at the end. Like I said, I think I got 2 seasons into the show, which I guess maybe that's almost like me saying that it wasn't worth it. But as a creator, a lot of sparks, which is probably why I'm getting back into it, because it was not re-released. But am I going to Origins? Ooh, when is Origins? Let's see. Planned for June 28th through the 22nd. Columbus Convention Center, which is only 10 minutes away from me, less than. Sure to see. Yeah. Nothing posted on there yet, not much, but yeah, why the hell not? Yeah. Let's do it. You know what? Let's do it. Yeah. Okay, I'll do it. Sometimes I'm gonna have to. I gotta look at my calendar. I have strange days. My days off revolve. I hope it falls on one of my weekends. If not, I'm gonna have to put in for time off, which is horrible. But it's hard to get. But not horrible. It's horrible that it's hard to get it time off. But okay, all right. I'm gonna look that up. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Tomorrow we'll do Sons of Anarchy, biker gang, and then after that, who knows? Who knows? What the hell? Maybe I remember Raven. Someone came on the show and talked about Cyberpunk. Yes, I watched how Lost. Yeah, Lost. Wow. I watched how Lost slowly unraveled and came, and because of this, I have sometimes a slight suspicion for newer shows when I sense that this could break when the ending might end badly. Well, there's a uh, there's a I see you, Mufa. Um, there's an unfortunate cycle for television shows that is unavoidable. So television shows always go through the unfortunate cycle of jumping the shark at the end, because if a show is doing well, there's no reason to end it. So if you had an end point in mind, the people producing the show are going, I don't care that you had an end for your show. We need to continue to remain on this. We need to remain on the treadmill and keep going forward, which is why shows that should have ended haven't. On the other hand, if the show is not drawing in the viewership, no, it doesn't matter that you wrote your show for 3 seasons. It's going to end after one because no one's watching it, right? Someone's got to pay for it, for your thing. Oh, Voided Game of Thrones. Don't people say? I don't know. People tend to not forget the fact that the 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, at least 6 of them, people were diehards. So let's not forget that while some people have this weird, erroneous thing that, well, the end of the show ruined the rest of it. No, it doesn't. No. Start from the beginning. Start watching the show. When it gets to the point where your brain is going, nah, I'm not really into it, then you stop. That's all. So yeah, no, television shows never end when they should. They either end because of lack of viewership, or they just keep going. There is no other, like, very rarely does a show go out on the top, because why would you give up the money? So, Westworld, yeah, Westworld was one of those shows. Westworld kind of, to me, baked a little bit too long. Some of the storylines they could have the end of the storyline was like not worth the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for me for Westworld. I think it looked brilliant. It had a great cinematography, very, very intelligently written, but I think it was starting to smell its own superiority, and I was just like, come on. I'm a sci-fi enthusiast myself, but these 3 episodes could have been crushed down to like 1. If you really think, that was my thing about Westworld. That was it. I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Sweet, I didn't get to go last year due to work. Got a hotel on the edge of Columbus this year. Ah, okay. All right, well, maybe we'll hook up. I'm very close to the Columbus Convention Center. I mean, like, real close. Guess I had Fallout now as a Westworld replacement. See, Fallout did a good thing. They actually got to the point real quick. Ufa says, I was quite annoyed when Altered Carbon got canceled. Yeah, it was heading towards a point too, right? And it got canceled. And that's unfortunate. If people don't watch a show, it gets canceled early. If people keep watching a show, it lasts too long. It's very rarely do you hit the sweet spot right in the middle. The Expanse did a pretty good job hitting it, but they left a lot of stuff open at the end, so I don't know. A few days I have a conversation for the character creation. Ooh, cool. Well, you guys have a great one. I'm not going to hold you too long. I got to get out of here. I got to show my coworkers my new buzz cut and everything. So anyway, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. We'll do Sons of Anarchy tomorrow, and get on out here. The concept is ready. There you go. Yeah, Mutants and Masterminds, I'm presuming. Still have not watched more than the first season of Altered Carbon. It hooked me, even though I am all about the cyberpunk. You don't have, Drew. You don't have to be into it just because, right? Like that's. Hey, you guys have a great one. Yeah, sometimes the show just doesn't. It's like, nah, I didn't really feel it. You know, you go like, that wasn't really for me. That's all right. Yeah, it's okay. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. We'll talk about Sons of Anarchy tomorrow and steal from that show as well. and so many other ones. During the like late '90s to early 2000s, there were a ton of these like long form. Um, it not the, I don't want to say it was the beginning, but it was a heyday for like these 3 to 6 season premise style shows. A lot of them semi science fiction oriented, and I mean it still exists till today. But yeah, we got a lot of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, guys, have a great one. I'll see you. See you later. Bye. Peace out.